The following program is furnished by K1 International LLC and is responsible for its content. Now, from the fifth floor Cumulus Studios in downtown Dallas, it's time for Inside Real Estate. Here's your host, Michael Kruizinga.
Good morning, Texas. How we doing out there? Welcome to your Sunday morning. Come on in, stay a while. One of the most fun and crazy shows you ever get to hear on the weekend. We talk about just all kinds of variety. Yes, we talk real estate and business, but we also talk a little bit of sports, entertainment, politics, and all kinds of good stuff. Got a great lineup for you today. We've got, as always, our insurance specialist in business, Richard Tonihka from Goosehead Insurance. Woohoo! He's here today, so we'll be talking with him. And, of course, we got a couple special guests for you. We've got from Sprint, the regional president of the South, John Stevens, is going to be calling in for our business segment. So we're going to talk a little business with Mr. Stevens there.
Fantastic.
Yes, sir. And actually, Sprint's it's an interesting kind of story of what's been going on with them over the last few years, really, with, the new CEO that came in a few years back, kind of started turning the company around, their new ad campaigns, et cetera. So an interesting story. We're going to get into a lot of that fun stuff with him, so I'm kind of excited about that. Then we've also got another guest later in the show. This is a rebook from last week. We were supposed to have John Guandolo, former FBI counterterrorism expert and special operator, on the show last week. We couldn't get him last week, but we got him on hopefully for this week. He's booked for us, and so hopefully we can catch him on the line today, so we're excited to talk to him. One of the things we're going to talk to about him is his website, understandingthethreat.com. Obviously, he's a counterterrorism expert, and then, of course, we're also going to talk about his book from a few years ago, Raising a Jihadi Generation, Understanding the Muslim Brotherhood Movement in America. So, this guy is the foremost expert on the Muslim Brotherhood and the terrorist threat to America, both here and abroad. So, excited to talk to him later in the show, assuming we get him on the line. You always have that question there. Excited to talk to somebody if we can get him on the line. So, everything boils down to that old thing, the phone line,
Yes. And actually being awake, that helps.
Yeah. Will it work? Will it work? Kind of like, will it float? Will it float? Will it float? And then, we're going to talk about some headlines and some other good stuff. By the way, the website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. By the way, every month we're getting more and more hits than the previous month, so we're excited about that. Every month is a new record for us right now, so thank you for checking out the website. Thank you for hitting up SoundCloud. Thank you for hitting up the YouTube version of all the past episodes on our archive page, also the iTunes as well. And we got a lot of good stories. Of course, if you're looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate, all of our information is there, and of course all of our partners of the show are there as well. Had a interesting email this past week. One of my impassioned segments from a few weeks ago, they were actually emailing about that, and they said, we really appreciated, that you talked about the investors taking advantage of elderly homeowners, and the fact that, that segment was kind of about, don't let that high-pressure, investor salesman come in, tell you that you can't rehab your house, get the money back out of it. You just need to sell it as is to them. Meanwhile, they're going to turn it around, rehab it, and resell it. And so he appreciated that, and it was a real essay email, and we kind of emailed back and forth, and it was kind of funny. He wouldn't give him his phone number. He didn't want to talk on the phone.
I love what you said, but I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, he gave me his address, and we were looking up some information for him, and we're going back and forth. He's trying to decide if he wants to sell or not. But really funny, just genuine article, because there's very long emails back and forth. But he was just so appreciative of that segment and the sentiment behind it, which is, look, I don't like it. I don't like it when these investors, try to take advantage of elderly homeowners and say sell as is. Meanwhile, they come in, reap the rewards of, them paying off a house.
Yes.
And it's being in a nice spot. They rehab it, and then they sell it and take the money for themselves. So if you are a homeowner out there, don't let an investor do that to you. Don't let them take your hard-earned equity and make it work for them versus make it work for you. And by the way, it's not just if you you don't have to sell. Like for this particular gentleman, it may work better to his advantage to take some of the equity out.
And that's what I was going to say. I mean, you've got so many options that you can use when it's your house and you've been there and you've built that equity into it that an investor doesn't really have, or they do have it, but you've got the same kind of options that they have.
Yeah, I mean, your money may be in that home, and there's a million different ways to use it, and it's for this gentleman and for a lot of people that have maybe paid off a house, empty nest, that type of thing. There's a lot of questions I can't answer, which you have to answer. These are questions about life. Where are you going in life? Are you planning to maybe live in Dallas 6 months and somewhere else 6 months? Are you planning to, go to Mexico? Are you planning to travel, cruises around the world? These are life questions that you have to answer. Do you want a small villa? Do you want to maybe rent? Maybe that's best for you, depending on if you're heavy traveler. A lot of life questions you need to answer, and then let's talk and let's figure out the best way to utilize equity in your house. Maybe it is rehab it and sell it. Maybe it's rehab, stay there. Maybe it is taking out the equity out of the house and using it in other ways. Lots of different options for you. So I thought I'd mention that. That was just interesting. But he had really appreciated that. So I appreciate you out there. David was his name. Hey, what else is going on? We've got, I think I've got a little time for a few stories here. Let's do a couple headlines right quick. What's going on? Hey, did you know IKEA is planning a Fort Worth store?
Oh, that'd be so great.
Isn't that what we need? Another IKEA. They just submitted plans to the city of Fort Worth for a 289,000 square foot location to be built on 27 acres, 10 miles north of Fort Worth off of 35. So that's a possibility for us.
Wonder what the instructions for that looks like.
That's right.
I wonder how many pieces it's going to take to build that. So, since there's about 60 pieces in a simple table.
That's right. And then they've got those little things that somehow put together the laminated wood.
Oh, we bought some stuff from IKEA, and I really do enjoy the store. But my goodness, they can't make it any more complicated to put something together than they already do. It's absolutely amazing to me.
Yeah, but great store and all that, but depending on what the product is, a good stiff wind is going to blow the thing down.
Oh, I completely agree.
No doubt about
you need to have it anchored to something.
That's right. All sides of it. AT&T, they 21,000 employees, potential strike. They had approved it, and they were going to talk more about it actually yesterday. So they were in negotiations. So that, of course, as always, it's doubtful that they will strike, but as always during negotiations, they want to approve a potential strike. What else is going on? Hey, also with AT&T, this was interesting. CEO Randall Stevenson, he said, your skill set, it has a 2-year max duration. He was talking.
What?
He was talking at a university, doing a seminar down there, and he said, "Look, bottom line is your skill set is 2 years max." And he even said it about himself, although I think he probably would exempt himself as the CEO. But he said, "Look, you constantly have to be retooling and reskilling yourself, which of course we all know, but I don't know how well received that would have been at a university when he's, when they're putting on hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to themselves. And then, by the way, everything you're learning is not going to be worth anything later. And once you're in 2 years, what you learn is passé and gone, and you'll have to retool again."
Well, isn't that the truth? I mean, when you're thinking about it, I mean, you graduate college, then you get your first job, and everyone, you don't know anything, kid. And then they just kind of brush you aside. You need to learn the business before you come in here and start spouting off.
Yeah, no, it's true. And honestly, I mean, people need to take that thought process and think about, do you want to put yourself in debt, a couple $100,000, or do you want to, go alternate routes, you'd at least be able to buy a home earlier, probably.
Hey, you could go to Slovenia where a college education is free.
There you go. Good luck with that, people. What else is going on? Hey, I was going to save this for maybe later, but this is, man, this is too good. I'm saving this one for later. We need more time for that one. This one's too funny, so I'll save that. David Weekly, hey, over in West Kessler Heights, new line of homes, 410,000 or better. Got two versions. We got a garden version and a villa version. One's 410, one's 510. The garden's 410, 510 to the villa. Nice properties over there in Kessler, of course, and brings up another question, though. I tell you, and we talked about this, and the last couple of weeks, for some reason, I've had a lot of clients calling in that were kind of in that sub 200 zone, that 180 down to 150, and that's such a hard zone right now to help people in. And of course, I'm all in. I want to help you, that first time home buyer, and if that's your range, I want to help you. Realize the dream, the American dream of home ownership, and and I tell people it's going to be tough, but we'll get there. And but I tell you, new build wise, we don't see anything really under 200 being built for new construction.
No.
And so I'm telling you, it's getting tough for folks out there, and I hope a builder will come along and maybe in the far-reaching area of somewhere around the Metroplex, they will develop a subdivision. And I know that's not where the money is, obviously, for the developer, but maybe someone will consider this, and think, we need to put in a solid new construction neighborhood, for, just for the good old folks, the working class,
Yeah, that's not the builder way.
No, it's not. We build only $750,000 houses. That's it. All right, folks, we're going to take a short break, and we'll see you in a few. Bye. When it comes to your mortgage and refinance needs, trust Terri Waggoner, our resident mortgage expert on Inside Real Estate Radio. With a wide range of financing options and competitive interest rates, you can trust Terri for a fast and reliable loan process with superior service. Go to terriwaggoner.com or 469-644-4818 today. Supreme Lending is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID number 207089, 6730 Horizon Road, Suite B, Heath, Texas, 75032. SML Mortgage Banker Registration, Residential Mortgage Loan Originator. Folks, it's Mike Kruizinga here with Inside Real Estate Sports Entertainment on 570 AM KLIF. Did you know that virtually all of us will experience a fall in the bathtub at some point in our life? Well, statistically, it's true, and as we get older, a fall in the bathtub can spell disaster, as we just can't recover the same as we did in our younger years. Don't let something as silly and preventable as a bathtub fall put an end to all your special plans you have lined up for your golden years. Invest in a Hydrojet walk-in bathtub. Made in the USA and with the lowest step in the industry, Hydrojet walk-in tubs has your best interest at heart. With no commissioned sales staff or huge warehouse overhead, they build and sell direct to you, saving you thousands of dollars over their competitors. Call Randy, my friend and owner of Hydrojet Walk-in Tubs, at 855-980-8827 or go to hydrojetwalkintubs.com. You'll be able to speak with Randy directly, and make sure to mention you heard about it on the radio. And for you veterans out there, there's a grant available for you to cover the majority of the cost of a walk-in tub, making it darn near free. Call Randy at 855-980-8827 or go to hydrojetwalkintubs.com today.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey, folks, we are back. InsideRealEstateRadio.com's website. InsideRealEstateRadio.com is the website. We're going to talk a little bit of business right now. Get into the corporate world. We got a special guest on the line with us. We've got Sprint president of the Central Texas region and the Central South region, John Stevens, on the line with us. John, are you on the line with us?
I am. Good morning.
Good morning. How are we doing today?
I'm fantastic. How about yourself?
I am excellent myself as well. Thanks for calling in on a Sunday morning.
Happy to do it. My pleasure.
Well, there's been a lot going on with Sprint, and I've been interested, and always been interested in companies, that have great history, but also, have struggles. And then, there's these periods of turning around. And I've kind of noticed that about Sprint over the last few years, and in particular, when the new CEO came in a couple years ago, I was struck by some of the common sense things that he had said. And this is back from a Wall Street Journal interview. And I thought this was very funny. And he said, probably one of the most difficult turnarounds in the world. and he said he took on the challenge. I'm paraphrasing here, but it was hard for him to understand why a company of over $35 billion in revenue couldn't turn a profit. And I found that kind of funny. And he said a company that has more customers than the population of Canada, and one of the highest average revenue per user figures in the world, that they couldn't turn a profit. And so, he's taken it on, and the people that he's brought on board have taken it on to turn the company around. And I've kind of seen this turnaround happening. And so I was really excited to talk to you about it.
No, I appreciate you being honest. It's funny, you think about the quote that Marcelo shared there, and you look at the components that we had to work with as an organization. It is staggering that a company as large and successful as Sprint in the past had struggled financially. And I liken it a lot to, it's a really rare opportunity as we've been bringing on new executives and talent. You've really been talking about how often are you going to get a chance to work for a startup that's also a Fortune 100 company. That's really what it's been like as we've, top to bottom, really re-architected the way we do business. Unfortunately, we had some legacy practices. We had a merger with Nextel that probably wasn't, handled in the most efficient manner that led to some problems. And it's really been an exciting last few years as we put a plan in place. We've brought the talent in to help us execute it. We've executed, and we've seen amazing results from doing that. And in 2016 in particular, really, really exciting year for the company.
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed you guys, it looks like, just brought on a new COO. And what kind of struck me too was that, a company usually this large, this position to maybe have been empty, and to bring in such a dynamic guy, that's going to be a great addition as well.
Yeah, it's funny. If you look at our senior leadership team as an organization, it looks really more like the United Nations. I mean, if you go across, what Marcelo has done an amazing job of is not been stuck or beholden to looking at maybe some of the traditional candidates, or also just the United States. I mean, we've got our technology leaders who've helped us build the best networks in both Japan and even Australia and Germany. We've got marketing leaders, I think, from Brazil, in Southern Europe. We've got a CFO who's worked in Hong Kong and Australia. I mean, if you think about the global reach, and that's the great thing about Marcel that he's done, is he's really looked for folks that across the not only the industry, but just across the globe, that have experience in turnarounds, which is really important to us, and also being disruptive in the marketplace. And I think it's been a fantastic journey to see all these folks come on and be able to learn from them.
Yeah, and I really do think that that's what, a lot of companies need. I think a lot of companies, have gotten bogged down maybe over the last couple decades for one reason or another, and you kind of need those out-of-the-box thinkers. And I just think it's a great thing that, you guys brought such a dynamic team on board. Let's talk about the Super Bowl. I mean, you guys had, you guys have really been working in Houston to kind of transform some of the behind the scenes things that make everything work. I was reading some news, and there was nearly 5 terabytes of data consumed, just during the Super Bowl, in and around the Super Bowl. And you guys put a lot of work and effort into the infrastructure in Houston, and in many markets. But, obviously Super Bowl being there was huge for you. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was a really proud moment for us. And as you mentioned, the amount of data consumption, you think about mobile users today, and you go to a game a few years ago and it was phone in pocket just because you were enthralled in the game. But today, with the way that customers view and enjoy entertainment, even sports, I mean, you're posting back and forth with your friends as you're going on there, you're updating your social feeds, you're looking at maybe additional feeds for additional insight and commentary on the game. I mean, it really is a digital way that we consume even live entertainment. And so it's imperative that customers have an ability to be able to do that. And as you know, and a lot of times in public venues, you get 70, 80, even 100,000 people in one spot. It's been something that's been difficult for wireless networks in the past to be able to handle. And what we were able to do in Houston is really put our future network on display. And it was really a combination of some of our investments in mini macros, densifying the network, leveraging our 2.5 spectrum, and really proud of the way that our network handled itself. To be able to be in a stadium and see download speeds on a packed stadium of upwards of 80, 90, 100 megabits down, and really have a seamless user experience was fantastic, and really proud of the way that our network represented itself in Houston during the Super Bowl, but also the way it's been representing itself every day across all of our markets.
Right. And talk a little bit about the infrastructure. I mean, you guys kind of pride yourself on sort of running off of, your own infrastructure as best as possible, and then using, other carriers for that last leg of the mile, and maybe in certain areas, et cetera. But you guys have been upgrading, your networks, adding, these, and I'm not a technical guy necessarily, but, adding these nodes into all these markets. And so talk a little bit about the technical side of it, so that we can understand on how that works and what you're upgrading in all the markets.
Yeah, at the end of the day, for all of us at wireless carriers, that's our product, right? And, we don't sell phones. A lot of people believe that that's what we do, but we're really selling a network. And it's critical that we've got a great product there. Sprint's spent significant time and money over the last several years in investing in that. And a couple of things that make our network unique is Sprint has the largest spectrum holdings of any of the U.S. carriers. So if you think about, we own more spectrum than Verizon, more spectrum than AT&T, more spectrum than T-Mobile, to a significant degree. And what spectrum does is it allows you to be able to have capacity, so to be able to add more subscribers and to put more data tonnage, but it also allows you to be able to leverage that towards speeds. And with technologies like, 2-channel carrier aggregation and 3-channel carrier aggregation allows us to essentially band that spectrum together and get a wider pipe, if you will, for faster speeds. So we've been able to see that. We're actually, according to Nielsen, we have the fastest network. If you went and quizzed a lot of people and said, hey, of the major wireless carriers, tell me who's got the fastest download speeds, many people probably wouldn't think that that's Sprint, but the reality is scored by third party. We do. I think we also have seen significant gains in reliability. Our network scores incredibly well overall in terms of reliability. And if you look at companies like J.D. Power that really are consumer advocates or measure satisfaction, our network scores second best among all carriers with them. So it's an investment that we've made. A lot of people say they're making investment, but the proof is actually in the results that we've gotten from our network and also some of the endorsements we've gotten from third parties.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, the Super Bowl moment was kind of a big deal as well, because especially now with, Facebook Live and, the amount of data that it takes to that you run on your own mobile device. Everybody's running around with a little computer and a hard box with them, and the amount of data that's just rolling into that. By the way, I mean, how much discussion is there behind the scenes before, some of these apps are thrown out there and how they're going to impact data usage? How much discussion behind the scenes is there, given the carriers a heads up, is there about new apps that are going to heavily impact usage?
Yeah, it's really a community, and we have both a team from an engineering, from a user experience, from even marketing, believe it or not, that looks forward and says, hey, here's what's coming in terms of a customer's user profile and usage profile, I should say, and the things that they're anticipating doing. They're trying to keep an eye on the roadmap. It's not only in terms of specific apps, but in terms of technologies like wearables and video streaming and virtual reality get to be a bigger part of what we do. Those dramatically increase tonnage. And if you look at the growth curve for data usage because of what you just described, it really is an exponential curve. And so we have to not only be thinking about how do we build our network to be able to handle the capacity needs today, but if you think about things moving to 3D and virtual reality, as I just described, and really the Internet of Things, it's crazy, but today I can actually turn on my washing machine from another city. It's something that seems so foreign. We got every device is really connected, and what connects all of those devices and allows people to do that is a mobile network. So You're absolutely right. The tonnage is incredible, and it puts amazing demand on a wireless network, which is why, again, Sprint's spectrum holding and our position as having more than anybody bodes incredibly well for us going forward with those future usages.
Right. Well, and I love the new advertising campaigns. I mean, I think they're smart. I also think they're common sense. I think they're going to appeal to a lot of people. they're very comedic as well. But some of the nuts and bolts, like here's a new plan, 5 lines, unlimited data, talk, and text for $90 a month, and that's a heck of a deal as well. So there's some great deals to bring people over as well. And I think now's the right time, because I think there's so many legacy users that have just been with one carrier for a long time that are tired of being, maybe overcharged for so many years or even a decade or more, that are ready to make a move. And so I just think the advertising right now, the marketing is very smart. I'm an old marketing veteran. So I think right now it's very smart, from my opinion. I think it really looks good. Let's talk a little bit about stock for a second, though. Last 5 years, kind of say $6 up to maybe $11 right around when Marcelo came in, and then it's kind of around $9 right now. What are the projections on the stock?
Without getting into the talk about specifics of financial performance, I mean, we really believe, as I talked at the beginning of this, that we've got the chance to have one of the best turnarounds in company history. If you go look over the last 9, actually 11 quarters now, we've had the best performing stock of all the wireless carriers in terms of growth. And, obviously you say that because it started in a pretty rough position, right?
Right.
I think what you're starting to see reflected in the stock is a couple of things that we expect to continue. I think the first being subscriber additions. So one of the things that's really important in the wireless is, hey, are you growing subscribers versus losing subscriber? And we've actually added more subscribers than anybody other than T-Mobile. We've actually outgained Verizon and AT&T, who are twice our size. So if you think about that, and we've actually been taking customers and market share from them. So I think that's one of the big pillars. The other thing is just getting our cash position in place. You talked about what Marcelo said when he came on board about how is a company at $38 billion not turning a profit? Well, we've done that, right? So we've been able to both improve our free cash flow as well as our operating earnings, and we've done it really by just getting smart common sense about, hey, let's structure the business the right way. And we in 2015 we took about $1.3 billion of cost out of the company. We're on pace, scheduled to do almost $2 billion in 2016, fiscal 2016. So I think in terms of the stock, it's just working the plan that we already had in place, continuing to take costs out of the business and adding subscribers. And that's a winning formula, right? Any business model, hey, we're going to add more revenue and take costs out. Not many companies can do both of those things at the same time. We have plans to continue to do so, and I think the stock will continue to perform favorably as we do that.
Yeah, I think it will ultimately reflect it as well, and there's been such a massive turnaround. But like you say, doing all those things and still, investing in the infrastructure, planning ahead, and doing all of those things at the same time, difficult when you're kind of making a turnaround. But all the gains you guys have made been very impressive, as for me, for an outsider, as I like to follow different companies. So very impressive, and I really enjoyed spending a few minutes with you this morning and talking about it.
Mike, it's been my pleasure. I really appreciate you having me on, and look forward to listening to you. And again, anything else that we can share with Sprint, I'm always happy to.
Absolutely, yeah. Hopefully we can have you on another time. And again, appreciate it. Have a good Sunday morning. Hey, folks, we've been on the phone here with John Stevens, president over at Central Region for Sprint, kind of the Central South region. And folks, we're going to take a short break. We'll see you in a few. Far from the shores of home, 2 African-American U.S. Army privates fight for their lives on the battlefronts of World War II. The first Black War correspondents fight to cover the perspective of the black soldier. The novel A Private War weaves all this and more into an epic World War II era story of friendship, conflict, religion, and redemption. Get a copy of Private War, a novel by Perry Cockrell today, now available on Amazon.com. And tune in regularly to Inside Real Estate Sundays 8 to 9 a.m. to hear Perry Cockrell, attorney at law, as he provides expert analysis of the latest and greatest in legal news.
If you have a timeshare, this time of year you're probably thinking about those maintenance fees coming due. Hi, I'm Karen Holloway, owner of Lone Star Transfer, located right here in the DFW area. Before you pay your maintenance fees, call us for a free consultation, 972-722-3166. We'll get you out of your timeshare and put a stop to those maintenance fees, guaranteed. 972-722-3166 or LoneStarTransfer.com.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, we are back. Inside RealEstateRadio.com is the website. InsideRealEstateRadio.com is the website. Let's talk a little bit of insurance. We got Mr. Richard Tonihka right here, right now. Over at Goosehead. His website, richardtagency.com, by the way. richardtagency.com, by the way.
And let me save you time and money by shopping you with over 25 different carriers and making sure that you get the best policy at the best price. And we always talk about policy first. The thing that I would like to talk about today is claims. I've run into a rash of people that are absolutely amazed that they have claims on their records. It's so funny that most people don't know. It's just like a credit report. You should know exactly what is on your credit report, just like you should know what's on your insurance report, because everyone has an insurance score, just like you have a credit score. And so when you're looking at all this, there is nothing that should be on your claims history that you do not know about. And I'm just amazed that within the past couple of weeks that the people that I've talked to are absolutely floored that they'd had, I don't have any claims. I was like, I can't talk about any names or anything, but
Right.
I had one gentleman that he had 14 different claims on his auto policy by himself, not counting his the other people in his family. Or it's not even counting his home insurance as well, that he had more than a few claims as well. And claims are going to affect you differently at different, depending on how they come out. But the first thing that you do, if you think that you have a claim, and then we're talking strictly house right now, we're not talking about the auto. We can talk about that later if you want. But looking at the house, if you think you have a claim, the first thing that you need to do is call your agent. Make sure you call your agent to find out, okay, this is our game plan. This is what we're going to do. Okay. Because you have a deductible on your house. There is absolutely no point in finding out that the amount of damage on your house is the same amount as your deductible. Because let's say you have a $250,000 house, you have $2,500 worth of damage. That's your deductible. You just filed a claim. You're going to get $0 from the insurance company to fix whatever happened. And now you have a claim on your history. And depending on what kind of claim it is, it's going to affect you in a different manner, because there are some carriers that if it is weather related, wind, hail, tornado, something like that happens to your house, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't pick up your house and move it to a different location to where the insurance company isn't going to pay anything. Yeah. But there are some carriers that will still penalize you for it. They're going to give you a surcharge, even though there's nothing that you can do about the weather in your area. And so when you're looking at it and you have, let's say it's a choice between wind and hail, or if it's a water claim. Now, if it's a water claim, that's going to really affect you, because depending on how much it is, some carriers will simply not touch it if it's over a certain dollar amount. Doesn't matter that it's the only claim that you've ever had in your life. For about 3 years, there are some carriers that are simply going to say, hey, you know what, Mike, we love you. We think you're a great guy, but we are not going to offer you insurance because you had a water claim that is in excess of this dollar amount. And so until 3 years from the date of that accident occurs, we're not going to offer you insurance. But 3 years and 1 day after that, come on over.
We're back.
We're ready for you to jump in our field.
That's so nice of them.
And most of us, let's be honest, when is the last time that you looked at your home insurance?
Yeah, I know.
Probably the last time, when you first signed up and you were talking to the agent and you knew everything about it, or you knew exactly what they were telling you about it.
You knew the price. Let's be honest. They knew the price, right?
Exactly.
Most people don't go too far into the details.
Exactly. You touch on the highlights, but you don't go item by item and talk about everything that is included, and more importantly, the things that are excluded from your policy. So you really don't know exactly everything about your policy.
Right.
And so the first thing that you do, if you have a claim, call your agent. Let's see, this is what happened. Let's make sure that it's covered under your policy. If it is, then before we ever call the 800 number to put a claim in, we're going to send our guys out. Now, this is true for everything except for a big hole in your roof. You got to get someone out there immediately.
Right.
But if it's something that can wait, or you're going to set those appointments up, don't make the claim, then call the agent to let them know, because that's what we're here for. Now, if you have an 800 number, that's completely different. You can call and ask a question, and that might be counted as a claim, because how many of us call the insurance company just to simply talk? Oh, you know what? I just decided I want to talk about my insurance policy today. Nobody does that.
Right.
There's something always in the background. And so that's the reason a lot of times they will count that as a claim, even though you didn't put in a claim. Nobody calls an insurance company just to talk. There's some kind of damage, and you're trying to fish for information. And that's the reason that anytime they're being contacted, if you're calling that 800 number, it's going to be counted. It's going to be noted in your file.
Yep. And remember, the conversations are recorded.
Yes.
So whatever you said when you called in, even if it was haphazardly, it is on recording.
Absolutely. And so when we're looking at this, we're going to have our people out there. We're going to know exactly how much they say is going to be the damage. And I try to send people out that really may or may not get the bid to do the job. And so you're getting their best price, and you're also getting their honest opinion on, is there enough damage right now in this house under this circumstance or this risk to justify putting in a claim? If there isn't, look at doing it out of pocket, because in the long run, it's going to save you money.
Right.
Although you're coming out of pocket to do it, you're going to end up saving money, because you're not going to have a claim. A zero claim is the worst. I hate those. And then, because once you have a zero claim, the insurance carrier and everyone that you try shopping with, because now you're mad that they didn't give you the money to fix whatever damage was done to your house. Now you're mad, and so you want to shop it and you want to go somewhere else. But now that claim is on your history, and the next carrier is going to say, okay, well, that's fine. We love you. We think you're great, but we still need to see the documentation that this has been repaired.
Right.
We know that there was damage. We know that it just didn't meet your deductible, or it was denied for whatever reason, but we still want to see that work was done on your house.
Yeah. And that's important to mention, because folks, when you do call in and you try to run a claim, like you say, and that you see these in these reports, you'll see these claims of zero, which, like, okay, well, nothing was paid out, but it's not that innocent, because they called in for a reason. There was some type of damage. And so when you are switching carriers, they want to know what was up. Was there really something there? What was it about? All this. And so it's important. You're 100%, 1,000% right. Before you call the 800 number to make a claim or even inquire about a claim, that's why it's great to have you here locally, and, just call Richard, talk about it first, talk it out.
Yes.
Because you don't know some of the hidden ramifications of just calling the 800 number.
Yes. And the best thing that I can do is sit there and just kind of guide you through the process, because not only am I here to guide you, but I'm also here to fight for you. And any good agent that is out there is going to do the same thing for their clients, making sure that they're taken care of when they need it. And so you're going through and you're making sure that this claim, that you're being treated fairly, that the work's getting done the way it should be done. And keep in mind, it's more of a balancing act of making sure that I'm taking care of my customer, and I'm making sure that I'm doing everything right for the carrier also, because we don't want to strain any relationship, but I do want everything to get taken care of for my customers absolutely as quickly as possible, and with as little out of their pocket as possible. And so knowing that this risk or this damage is covered under this, you kind of know when we set everything up, you know exactly how much you're going to pay out, and you know exactly who's doing the work. And just because an adjuster comes out and says that it's going to cost this much, well, the reason that we do all of our legwork before we ever put the claim in is because I want to make sure that my customer knows exactly what they're going to get and what is fair for them. And so if the adjuster comes out and he lowballs us for whatever reason, then we have, well, here's the documentation that says this is the damage, this is the damage, this is the damage. And just because an adjuster says something doesn't mean that that's the final word on a claim. It just means that If you agree with it, then we go from there. If you don't, or once you start getting into the job, then you start and you find more damage, then we add that on. But, well, we don't add it on. Whoever's doing the work does it. But that's one of the things that don't be afraid to call your agent to make sure that they're fighting for you and that they're making sure that you're covered the way you think you're covered.
Here's a question for you. So if you say, let's say you're on the 800 number with an adjuster or a claims assistant, whatever the case may be, and you say, okay, I'm going to withdraw. Let's just say it's not going to work out to, run the claim. And if you tell them I'm withdrawing the claim, is it still going to be a claim of zero on there?
Yes, it's still going to be a zero claim. They know that the damage was done. And
because you told them something happened.
Exactly. And it's still going to, you don't, like I said earlier, you don't necessarily even have to say that there is damage, or you could be asking about a specific coverage within your policy, and that may be counted as a claim. I had one customer that came over a few years ago because the agent that they had ended up, every time that they called in, he had them call the 800 number to ask the question because he didn't know what he didn't know the answers. So every time that they called into the 800 number to find out the question about their home policy, it was being counted as a claim. And they ended up getting so many of them that their carrier ended up canceling them, even though nothing had been paid out over the past 3 years. It was just simply because they asked questions.
They called to ask questions.
Yes, and they were counted as claims. So
unreal.
Yes, it's amazing.
Well, folks, to stave off all of this, you need to get with Richard. You need to make sure your policies are with him. Trust me, he's going to take care of you, not only home, auto, toys, RVs, motorcycles, all kinds of good stuff, life and more. He's going to be there for you to call and talk about these questions. And guess what? They're not going to count as a claim against you.
No.
His website, richardtagency.com, richardtagency.com. Folks, he can shop over 20 companies behind the scenes. He can bundle multiple companies together for different policies. The things that he can do are pretty amazing, not to mention best policies and saving you money. Richard Tonihka, Goosehead Insurance Agency, richardtagency.com. Folks, short break. See you in a few. The Richard Tonihka Insurance Agency in Arlington has nearly unlimited resources when it comes to getting you the best insurance rates and policies for home, auto, and more. As part of the Goosehead Insurance brand, you, the consumer, have the power of choice through the Richard Tonihka Insurance Agency network. Richard can quote over 20 A-rated companies to find the best fit for you, the best policy at the best price. Call Richard today at 817-286-2002. It's the Richard Tonihka Goosehead Insurance Agency, 817-286-2002. With over 3.5 million square feet and 5 DFW locations, Ideal Floors has you covered for all your flooring needs. Whether you're looking for carpet, tile, laminate, wood, or vinyl plank, Ideal Floors has you covered. And with their price match guarantee and their 100% satisfaction guarantee, they are the absolute best in DFW for all your flooring needs. Call Kevin Hamus, the owner of Ideal Floors, at 214-789-0422 or go to idealfloors.com for all your flooring needs.
This Valentine's Day, send your sweetheart the gift that shines above all others. Name a star after them. I'm Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $54 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, we will name a star after your sweetheart and send a beautiful gift package. The new star name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Call the Star Registry, 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com for this year's hottest Valentine's Day gift.
Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, we are back. InsideRealEstateRadio.com is the website. InsideRealEstateRadio.com is the website. By the way, you can connect with all of our partners right there. And if you're needing to buy, sell, invest in real estate, I'd highly recommend giving me a call. I will take care of you. And I know what I'm doing, unlike many out there. And by the way, just want to mention this program again. If you're thinking about investing in real estate, but you don't want the hassles of managing the real estate, you can, invest, have our team manage the property, and you get a set interest rate. You we have minimum 3-year term, minimum $100,000 investment. But hey, how's an 8% sound to you? 8%. Most people would say, hey, that's a nice conservative return, solid return.
Heck yeah.
Plus, here's the deal. How many, investments do you put your principal into, and the principal is guaranteed? A lot of times your principal is at risk. I would say most of the time your principal is going to be at risk. You throw several $1,000s, 10, 20,000, whatever the deal is at whatever stock, it fluctuates up,
yes,
up, down, all around. There ain't nothing guaranteed about that principal whatsoever.
I love the ones where it's 20% year after year, and just like every time I see that, I'm just like, Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, there's very few products out there, that are steady return and guaranteed principal. How is your principal guaranteed? It's guaranteed by a particular property. You become the Bank of America, if you will. You become first lien holder on a property. You have full foreclosure power over that property. Your investment is backed by the property, and that's the best way to secure, your investment is through real estate. And so if you don't want to have the hassles of renters or flipping or any of that nonsense, and you want nice steady returns, and and this is really important as you get later in life. You want your principals guaranteed. You want your investments guaranteed. There's not a lot of products that can do that, and we can do that for you. You get a nice steady return. You get your principal back, or you can reinvest it at the end of the term that you pick. We got many options for you, so go to the website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com, and we will take care of you on that. Hey, unfortunately, we were going to talk some politics and kind of talk about the state of terrorism today with really the foremost expert on this, the FBI former counterterrorism expert, John Guandola. But we cannot get the guy on the line. He's out there on the East Coast. He's an hour ahead of us, so shouldn't be too hard to get him on the line. But we've tried for 2 weeks now to get him on the line. And he's got an entire team of people, that we've been dealing with on the West Coast and the East Coast, and they've all got him all lined up. Even him, he's even confirmed with us, hey, I'm on board. This team is on board. All of his handlers are on board. Let's get on and let's talk. We're gonna have a great discussion. Unfortunately, we can't get the guy on the line, and this is 2 weeks in a row, and it's kind of unfortunate because he put out a book a few years ago. Called Raising a Jihadi Generation, Understanding the Muslim Brotherhood Movement in America. And this really kind of gets into the heart of terrorism, what's going on in the Middle East. Also, it gets into the thought processes of the Muslim Brotherhood, who, by the way, has been in America since the 1950s. They started infiltrating America in the 1950s, and they started a high number of organizations that are often 501c3, tax exempt, that are also often organizations where they have ambassadors or advisors advising at the highest levels, and you'll be very surprised, and he talks about some of this in his book, that they're advising even at the White House. And come to find out, some of them had been even arrested. And I don't want to give away everything in the book. And this book is really kind of written and geared towards law enforcement. It's all geared towards as a handbook for law enforcement. But I would highly recommend, honestly, even though we can't get him on the line, I'd recommend, snagging this. This book came out 3 years ago. It's only an 80-page book. It's a quick read. If you can digest this type of material. But it talks about, their overall plan. It talks about their ties to Hamas. It talks about their ties to CARE and the various other organizations that are supposedly, they're like the ACLU, right? It's just supposed to be a good organization. They're not doing anything radical, not doing anything wrong. But this goes to the very foundation of what the Muslim Brotherhood has said, and they have flat out said that they want a one world under Islam. Bottom line, they don't care for the law of man, and that Islam rules all. Bottom line, and looking for the one world caliphate. What their mission in America is to do, and this has been since the 1950s, and I was really hoping for John to get into this, but is what they call civilization jihad. And by infiltrating and through peace, here in America, and as well as what they've done in Europe, is through peace transcend and ultimately take over from the inside all nations that are not under Islam. So if it's a nation that is not under Islam, they want to take it over from the inside, and this is the goal of the Muslim Brotherhood. And like I said, been here in the States since the 50s. And so very scary stuff. And so it really, like I said, is a logbook, is a handbook for law enforcement on how to understand the threat. By the way, his website is understandingthethreat.com. But to understand it at the local level, because so much of the time we're very politically correct, and we don't want to get into, anybody potentially having their feelings hurt, But at the same time, you have to be able to have an adult discussion about a variety of topics, when it comes to national security in particular. And I think if you can't have an adult conversation about national security, even when it ventures into, religion or anything else that has an impact, or people that are believe in a radical way of a particular religion, you need to be able to have that discussion. And so he really gets into the book very well with this. And I would just highly recommend, look, you need to read it. You need to be aware of some of these things that are going on. And it really kind of gives you a basis for their overall mission in the Middle East, and why we're so caught up in, spending so many billions of dollars on terrorism and counterterrorism, counterespionage as it relates to terrorism, and because, as citizens, we get frustrated with all the money that we're spending, on all of these projects. But if you don't really understand, and I'll tell you, this was really eye-opening, and I'm pretty well read myself. This was really eye-opening, so highly recommend it. You were going to say something, Richard?
Well, I was going to say, with all this stuff, I mean, when you're talking about religion or anything, I always get into the there's always people that's going to take everything to the extreme. Because I think about my own faith in Christianity, and that we're supposed to spread the word and spread the gospel and make sure that we are good steward. Well, not good steward. Well, you are good stewards, but also going out there and making sure that you're a disciple for your religion. And so I believe every religion is that same way, where they want it to spread their beliefs and or word, however you want to say that. And to me, that's not bad. I mean, I love a society in which you have different views and different takes on everything. But at the same time, I mean, I don't go to the extreme, and I don't expect people to go to the extreme with me. And that's where I go is I believe that faith plays a strong role in most people's lives. But when you take it too far, I mean, taking it too far is just taking it too far.
Yeah.
And the radicals and the extremists, I don't understand it, because that's not my personality. But to me, it's just one of those things that it's a hard subject to approach.
It is. It's a hard topic to talk about, because everybody, people can get offended by talking about religion and politics, but you have to understand, when you're talking about terrorism, and if it happens to be Muslim terrorism, it has to do with religion, but it's not an attack on religion. And if you can't have an adult conversation, understand that it's not an attack on the religion, it's talking about the terrorism behind the religion, and
that uses that
why they're using that as an excuse. Here's an example. We all know about Alaki, right? Who was targeted and killed in 2011. But prior to that, he lectured in the Capitol. He spoke at the Pentagon to senior officials, by the way. hailed by the media as a new generation of Muslim leader. And this is this is probably the example that most people know of. But they didn't know that he spoke at the Pentagon. They didn't know he was an advisor, that he was highly respected in the media before he was killed. Also, Siddiqui, the same thing. A number of other guys that people are probably not going to know the names of, but they were actually in the White House and advised the presidents. But they were highly respected as speakers, as imams prior to that. And then comes to find out they were heavily involved in funding terrorism behind the scenes. So anyway, that was the point of this segment, and really talking to John would have brought it all home because obviously he's the expert on it. But anyway, his book, Raising a Jihadi Generation, Understanding the Muslim Brotherhood Movement in America, it's by John Guandolo. His website, understandingthethreat.com. And I'll finish on this. Here's a little funny for you, but it's related to terrorism. There is Hezbollah launches a crowdfunding plan, like a GoFundMe. So there's a lot of funnies along with this. So kind of equip a jihadi and using social media like on Facebook and Twitter. So, so honestly, the funny part of it was the comments on it. And so somebody had said, he said, "Wow, and do you get a photo of the jihadi you're sponsoring?" So I guess even in terrorism, you know, they need funding as well. So they need a GoFundMe or Kickstarter account. Something interesting on this. I've got a few seconds left. Well, actually, no, we don't. We'll have to get to that next week. We're having so much fun this week. Inside Real Estate Radio, sports, entertainment, politics, folks. We're here every Sunday, 8 to 9. We'll see you next week.
Have a great week.
Folks, it's Mike the Realtor here from Inside Real Estate. And if you're not listing your property with me, bottom line is you're leaving money on the table. There are over 15,000 agents here in the DFW area, most of whom are part-time and do a few deals a year. Do you want to trust them to sell your home? I think not. Call Mike the Realtor, the radio realty expert from Inside Real Estate on 570 AM KLIF. Promise you will get to me direct. Go to InsideRealEstateRadio.com. Radio.com, 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 radio.com.